On the journey to the west, Tang Sanzang, Sun Wukong, Zhu Bajie, Sha Wujing, and even Bai Longma were lost in thought as they watched the plays of Journey to the West, Wukong Zhuan, Tianpeng Bajie Zhuan, and others on the Qimengji. Who am I? Who is me? Should I go to ****'s daughter, king, purple cloud fairy, Ayue on the western spirit mountain? Ananda looked at Ananda with a troubled expression. I really don't know how to break the martial arts sword. Ananda. No, you do. If you don't, you must. The Buddha looked at Ananda seriously. Master, do we really have 72 unique skills in Buddhism? Guanyin Bodhisattva asked with some confusion. The Buddha pondered for a moment and said, I didn't have it before, but I do now. He then instructed Guanyin Bodhisattva, also, you can go find the Lord of the Qimeng Pavilion later and entrust him to help us shoot a few more promotional videos for our Buddhist sect. The cost is hard to say. The game King card of the Wilderness version has become popular in the 3 realms, and countless non-chieftains are eager to self. Keywords of the novel. Journey to the West. Opening play of Journey to the West without pop-ups, Journey to the West. Opening play of Journey to the West full collection download, Journey to the West. Opening play of Journey to the West latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Opening of the Great Curtain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Opening of the Great Curtain. Outside Chang and City. Emperor Li Shimen of the Great Tang Dynasty led the civil and military officials of the Manchu dynasty to personally escort Tang Sanzang to 10 miles outside the city before stopping. This can be said to have given Tang Sanzang all his face, or to have given Tang Sanzang all the face of Buddhism behind him. Li Shimen held a glass of plain wine and looked at Tang Sanzang earnestly, saying, as time goes by and the mountains are far away, my younger brother can enter this wine. I would rather love a handful of soil in my hometown than 10,000 taels of gold in another place. Thank you, Your Majesty. Sanzang will definitely remember Your Majesty's teachings and do his best to retrieve the true scriptures from the Great Thunder Sound Temple in the Western Heaven for the purpose of saving sentient beings and promoting the Buddha's teachings. Although Tang Sanzang's words were light, they carried a resolute determination to never regret. Okay, I'll wait for you to return in Chang'an. Quote, on the southwest side of Chang'an City, near the city wall, an unnamed 7-story tower-shaped pavilion stands quietly in a corner. On the top floor of the tower, a tall and slender young man with a warm-colored jade pendant on his waist, sword eyebrows and starry eyes, handsome but indifferent features, stood with his hands on the windowsill, gazing at the distant scene of Li Shimen bidding farewell to Tang Sanzang. The tower is dozens of miles away from the place where Li Shimen bid farewell to Tang Sanzang. If it were an ordinary person from a young past, it would be difficult to accurately see through a telescope. However, the young man standing by the window now is not an ordinary person, and this world is not his past. In fact, it is not only the youth who are watching this scene now. In addition to the youth, there are immortals observing the opening ceremony in their own way in various parts of the heavenly court, Western Thunder Sound Temple, Earth Immortal Realm, and Earth Mansion. It wasn't until Tang Sanzang disappeared from sight and Li Shimen and his group began to return to Chang'an that the young man let out a faint sigh of relief. Finally left, Yun Tianqing sighed lightly, and his tense expression that had been on him for half a year finally relaxed slightly. The journey to the West is about to begin. In the past 6 months, it is unknown how many immortals, great supernatural beings, or incarnations have descended to Chang'an, or cast their gaze upon Chang'an, and from thousands of miles away, hoping to witness the beginning of the journey to the west. To say something unpleasant during this period, any beggar you come across while walking on the street may be the incarnation of a certain immortal god. Especially when Yun Tianqing is still a traveler, no one knows how much pressure he has been under in the past 6 months. Not to mention, after realizing that this world and the one in his memory are contradictory, the pressure he has endured has become even greater. Even in the past 6 months, he has stepped out of this tower no more than 10 times. Half a year ago, when he traveled to this world and discovered that he still had an auxiliary system, he thought he was about to reach the pinnacle of his life. Until he learned that his country was called the Tang dynasty, and heard the words Dongsheng Shenzhou, Xinia Hezhao, Nanshuabu Zhao, and Beijilu Zhao, his heart was half cold. And when he saw various array light curtains shining in the air above Chang and city, countless magical array texts flowing and gathering and disappearing, there are various exotic beasts pulling carts in Chang and city. In his opinion, after a giant stone weighing 1 or 200 pounds was easily thrown by a child aged 5 or 6, his heart completely cooled. This world is known to him as the Great Tang Dynasty, with standard character locations and events such as Tianting, Difu, 4 continents, Li Shimen, Tang Sanzang, and the Dragon King of Zhanjing River. But this world was not the Tang dynasty he knew of. The Tang dynasty in this world had 365 states, with 108 counties under each state and 1024 counties under each county. Among them, the capital of Chang'an was the most special, with only one capital city monopolizing as one state. Beyond the prefectures and counties, there were vast and uninhabited territories that formed the boundaries of the Tang Empire. These territories together constitute the vast Tang Empire, which only accounts for about 1/5 of the entire southern Tibet region, while the rest is occupied by other small kingdoms and major spiritual sects. And there are still 3 major prefectures, Dongsheng Shenzhou, Xinia Hezhao, and Beijilu Zhao, which can rival the area of the entire Nanbu continent. Outside these 4 major prefectures, they are surrounded by the vast and boundless 4 seas. These 4 continents and 4 seas together form one of the 3 realms in the center of the flood and wasteland, the Earth Immortal Realm. While the other 2 realms are the Heavenly Realm and the Underworld Realm, where the Heavenly Court and the Earth Mansion are located. Outside the 3 realms of the center of the flood and famine, there are countless small and medium-sized worlds surrounding it. These worlds, big and small, together with the 3 realms of the center of the flood and famine, form this magnificent and boundless flood and famine world. In this vast and desolate world, there are 6 saints residing in the chaotic sky outside the sky, a heavenly court supervising the 3 realms and 6 paths, and an emperor leading the army below. And it happens that the journey to the west is approaching, and Buddhism and Taoism are competing. In such an exciting environment, even if Yun Tianqing obtains the system, he feels like he's getting cold. It's not that he looks down on himself, but he really feels that even if he has a system, he may not be able to defeat the legendary sage in the future. So in the 6 months that he has traveled through, he dare not even raise his head, focusing on studying his system functions and silently preparing. Besides, he doesn't want or dare to do anything unnecessary. Especially during the quiet 6 months, he was even more certain that journey to the west was just a game planned by the gods and Buddhas in the sky. Do you really think that a Jingga Dragon King can intimidate and pursue Li Shimen? Although the Dragon King of Jingga is strong, he has only been in the realm of true immortals for 1,000 years. With the blessing of the Lord of Jingga, even the Shuangxian can fight within the Jingga River. But so what? Even the demon tribes in the Shuangxian realm were captured and hunted by the Tang army in formation. As for the fact that Li Shimen, the emperor of the Tang dynasty, threatened the underworld, I'm afraid it's not a joke. Although after being granted the title of deity by the great Shang dynasty, the emperor of Man was demoted to the position of emperor and lost his status as the emperor of heaven. But within the territory of the Tang dynasty, especially within the capital of Chang'an, Li Shimen's national luck and dragon energy were enhanced. Although his cultivation was limited by the national luck, his massive national luck and dragon energy were enough to suppress all immortals, demons, and monsters below the great god Tongji. Even if there are truly great supernatural beings who don't care about their appearance and take action against Li Shimen. The ancestors of the human race in the ancestral land and the 3 emperors and 5 emperors in the Huoyan cave are not vegetarians. The news that Emperor Li Shimen of the Tang dynasty was brought down to the underworld due to his excessive wrongdoing was just a message that Buddhism had released to confuse the common people. And Li Shimen tacitly refused to speak out. If I really want to take Li Shimen to the underworld for a trip, I'm afraid I'll have to take action from the 10 halls of Yan Luo. If the 10 halls of Yan Luo were to take action, the ancestors of the human race, the 3 emperors and 5 emperors, might even move and loosen their muscles and bones. The so-called journey to the West, from beginning to end, is nothing more than an exchange of interests. The West wants Buddhism to flourish. The human race wants to increase their luck. The heavenly court wants some merit. End of this chapter.
Chapter 2. Half year preparation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Half year preparation. However, these have nothing to do with me. The journey to the West has already begun, and the gaze of all the immortals, demons, and ghosts in the 3 realms will be on Tang Sanzang's master and disciples. Chang'an will usher in a rare period of peace, and this is my opportunity. Yun Tianqing muttered to himself as he looked into the distance, then withdrew his gaze and looked at the void in front of him, saying, System, display the current personal and system information. Name. Yun Tianqing Essence. The Master of Cultural Communication System Function. Spread entertainment culture and collect origin points. Energy source. Based on the spread of cultural entertainment, the cost source point is the result of the transformation of sentient beings' emotions and desires. Current number of origin points. 2345. Function. 1. Extract cultural information, optimize entertainment images, generate or reset cultural films and TV shows. 2. Practice the fake to make it real. 3. World travel. This is his system, the cultural dissemination system, with only 3 functions. The first function has nothing to say. This system collects all information related to culture and entertainment, such as novels, movies, TV dramas, comics, games, and so on, from past lives. And you can also generate corresponding movies or TV dramas based on your own needs, such as novels, games, etc. You can also modify or reset existing movies and TV shows, such as upgrading and rendering the 50% special effects from the 1970s and 1980s to 5D, 6D and other special effects from the 22nd century. The second function is really amazing. It can be turned into reality by refining the fake. However, the origin point required for refining fakes into reality is simply a sinkhole. At least for now, he threw himself in and couldn't even splash any water, so he drowned directly. And there is also a drawback that is not a flaw, which is that the essence of turning fake into reality actually comes from his imagination. Let's put it this way, with sufficient origin points, he can reveal the innate treasure. Tai Chi diagram. By refining the power tools that have become real. But the efficacy of this Tai Chi diagram comes from his understanding of the concept of the innate treasure Tai Chi diagram. For example, in his understanding, the innate treasure Tai Chi diagram has the power to calm the earth, water, fire, and wind, transform the yin and yang elements, distinguish the mysteries of the heavenly Tao, and possess the ability to encompass countless phenomena. So the innate treasure Tai Chi diagram that he forged into reality would have such a function, but does the true innate treasure Tai Chi diagram in the hands of the Tai Ching sages have such a function? Or is there only such a function? For example, does it still have functions such as carrying the Tai Chi yin-yang avenue and hosting the incarnation of the three corpses? This yuntianqing is not clear, so it can lead to a problem that the person or object that appears in yuntianqing may not necessarily be the same as the genuine product. The person or object that appears in this way may be stronger or weaker than the original version. Which is better or worse may only be clear in the future. The third function is to travel through the world, which is not just a world like the wilderness. The next day when Yin Tianqing traveled through this world, he realized this problem. Chaos is so great that even if thrown into a vast world like a vast wasteland, it cannot splash any water. Moreover, it cannot be said whether there is chaos beyond chaos. But this is also a pit, as the culprit who takes him through this world and integrates an unknown and inherently high energy, Yun Tianqing speculates that it may be the legendary one that escaped. The function of world travel can be said to be the instinct of this system. But the pit lies in the vast and boundless world of floods and wastelands that we have come to now. To reposition a world beyond the reach of a flood, the necessary origin points are also sufficient to submerge him without causing any ripples. And these three functions all rely on the most important function to achieve: the origin point. Without the origin point, this system is nothing, but with enough origin points, even the sage Yun Tianqing, who lives high in chaos and beyond, dares to fight back. And previously, because the gaze of the three realms immortals was focused on Chang'an, Yun Tianqing dared not move, afraid that if something happened on his side, he would be surrounded and scrutinized by the three realms immortals. So Yun Tianqing has always been very cautious, even when it comes to things that involve going out. Let the butler he bought from the dental firm handle everything, let alone causing trouble. But now can be said to be a rare opportunity. Whether one can have the confidence to face the three realms immortals in the future depends on whether one can accumulate enough origin points before the three realms immortals react. Meng Bo, come up here. Yun Tianqing spoke lightly, but his voice accurately reached the first floor. For a moment, an elderly man with white hair and still full of energy appeared in front of Yun Tianqing, dressed as a butler. He respectfully said, "Master, what do you have to say?" "Let's start, follow the previous arrangement to start the promotion." "Yes, Lord." The next day, the people of Chang'an thought that after Tang Sanzang left Chang'an, Chang'an city would return to its previous calm. But in fact, just as they left in the morning, a group of Chang'an residents discovered some novel things. On the streets and alleys, groups of children shuttled back and forth in the city of Chang'an, singing back and forth the lyrics with their childlike voices. The bitter sea stirs up love and hate. It is difficult to escape fate in the world, and blind dates are not accessible. Perhaps I should believe it is fate. In Dongxifang City, Chang'an, young girls holding a stack of flyers stand in densely populated areas, shouting loudly, passing by, "Don't miss it." 3 days later, it's already time. Qimeng Pavilion will release a brand new photo story that you have never seen before for free to watch, taking you to imagine the journey of the holy monk Tang Sanzang to the west to retrieve scriptures. It has to be said that this shout is indeed very eye-catching. After all, the holy monk Tang Sanzang just left yesterday, and the expected heat has not dissipated. At this moment, upon hearing news about the holy monk, the passing people naturally became interested. This is also the reason why Yun Tianqing chose to immediately launch promotion the day after Tang Sanzang left, in order to ride a wave of celebrity popularity. "Give me a picture," the passers-by reached out and demanded. "Alright, take it." 3 days later, at midnight, Qimeng Pavilion will launch a brand new photo story for free to watch that you have never seen before. Don't miss it. The young man handed over a promotional flyer with a warm expression on his face. Passers-by and civilians looked at the exquisitely painted propaganda leaflets on the front. Against the dim background of dusk, a red candle and cloth high platform was erected, and above the platform, a woman wearing a phoenix robe and a rosy crown, who couldn't see her face clearly, turned her back to the sunset and looked down. Underneath the high platform, a man wearing a lock armor, wearing a golden hoop on his head, and holding a long stick, looked up slightly. From the man's back, he happened to meet the woman on the high platform in pairs. In the upper left corner of this picture, there are 4 big characters written in elegant gilded font. Journey to the West. It can be said that this single scene has aroused the interest of passers-by and the public in the yet-to-be famous epic tale of Journey to the West. Continuing to flip through the back of the promotional flyer, the overall background is like yellow sand in the sky, a dim yellow. In this dim yellow desert, there are lines of sentences that seem to be the words of characters. Zixia Ferry. My crush is a world-renowned hero. One day, he will step on the colorful clouds to marry me. I guessed the ending correctly, but I can't guess the ending. Supreme treasure. At that time, the sword was only 0.01 centimeters away from my throat, but after a quarter of a burning incense stick, the female owner of the sword will completely fall in love with me because I have decided to tell a lie. Although I have told countless lies in my life, I believe this one is the most beautiful. Tang Sanzang. Sister Guanyin, this is your fault. Wukong's plan to eat me is just a concept and has not yet become a fact. You have no evidence, so why does he have any wrongdoing? It's better to wait until he eats me, and you have evidence to convict him. It's not too late. These seemingly inexplicable, but upon closer examination, they seem somewhat humorous and interesting dialogues, which greatly increase the interest of passers-by and the general public. Especially the words written above are suspected to be those spoken by Tang Sanzang. The tone of these words does not match the temperament exhibited by the holy monks they have recently seen, but it also vaguely gives them a sense of excitement to see some gossip. End of this chapter.
Chapter 3. Various discussions. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Various discussions. Chang'an Rumeng Poetry Society is a poetry society where the female family members of the noble family in Chang'an are relatively concentrated. Most of the women in it are either wealthy or wealthy. Usually, a poetry gathering is held every month to half a month. Of course, it is a poetry gathering, but in fact, it is just a tea party between young women. This time happens to be another poetry gathering period. Sister Shuwen, why have you lost your mind? Is it possible that you're thinking about your crush? A woman smiled at another lost woman in the pavilion of the poetry club, while the other women also looked over. When Cheng Shuwen regained her senses and paused, she felt embarrassed and said, "You didn't have the heart to marry me. Sister made fun of me again." Oh, why is that younger sister distracted? Tang Ru, the woman who initially teased Cheng Shuwen, continued, and several women next to her also cast curious eyes on Cheng Shuwen. Looking at several sisters looking at themselves, Cheng Shuwen takes out a leaflet from her arms with embarrassment. "This is what my sister received in the street today," and she was just lost in thought. The women gathered around and looked at the promotional flyer in Cheng Shuwen's hand. One of them exclaimed in surprise, "I have received it today as well. The paintings on it are quite beautiful. Sister Chen has received it." Cheng Shuwen looked at her little sisters in surprise. "Well, there are many on the street, and if you walk towards a crowded area, you will see someone delivering these papers," said another woman. "It seems very interesting. Why don't we go and have a look?" Tang Ru looked at the sisters and suggested. "Okay. I've been feeling quite bored lately." Everyone agreed one after another. Guozijian, a group of noble and noble children who may be lazy and scattered, or hold their chin, or sit at a table, with a haughty and arrogant attitude, but in fact, they also have the right to be arrogant. Chang Sun Chong, Qin Waiu, Cheng Chu Si, Cheng Chuliang, Cheng Chubi, Wei Qi Bailan, Fan Yizhi, Du Go, Li Yexu and other second-generation sons of top Tang dynasty literary and military officials and generals gathered here. Due to the journey to the west, all the second-generation noble children were warned by their own parents not to cause trouble or go out. Before the departure of the holy monk Tang Sanzang from Chang'an, these second-generation children left their homes at 2 o'clock and one line every day. They were directly escorted by family soldiers and sent by carriage to the Guozijian. Then, the Guozijian came out and was also directly sent back to the mansion by carriage. Even the more cautious Zun Gui simply refused to let his own children go out and directly prohibited them from studying in the mansion. It's not that they're making a big fuss, but in the past, it's possible that any beggar they encounter or kick on the street could be the incarnation of an unknown immortal god in the three realms. Once you accidentally offend the immortal god, it's good to have bad luck on your own, and it's really bad to implicate the family. So whether it's for the safety of their own children's lives or for the survival of their family, they won't let their children get into this kind of risk. Forced to live a life of asceticism for more than half a year, these noble children can be said to have been almost driven crazy. Fortunately, the family ban was finally lifted after the departure of the holy monk Tang Sanzang from Beijing yesterday. It's almost suffocating me. If it takes a little longer, I'll really go crazy. Cheng Chuliang looked as if he had escaped from a major disaster, but the previous days were indeed a difficult time for them. Fortunately, the holy monk has finally left, and we don't have to be tied up anymore. Fang Yi also breathed a sigh of relief. In the past 6 months, none of them have been easy. Second brother, be cautious. Fang Yi glared at his younger brother, wondering if the holy monk was something they could discuss. Hey, let's not mention the previous frustration. Have you had any fun lately? Or should we find some fun? Cheng Chu Si looked eager to cause trouble. Happy. Recently, there seems to be a new store about to open in Chang'an Exifan. It is said that there are many novel and interesting things, and there will be a brand new projection for viewing on the opening day. Qin Waiu touched her chin and thought about the content of the promotional flyer she received today. Is it the photo that claims to be related to the holy monk? Li Yexu suddenly spoke up. Hey, you also received that flyer? Qin Waiu turned her head and looked at it with surprise. Under normal circumstances, Li Yexu would not care about these things. It seems that the other party has also been suppressed. However, it is also normal. Most of them are teenagers in their teens, and curiosity and activity are normal things at this age. Li Yexu didn't speak, just took out a promotional flyer from his pocket. Everyone immediately gathered around and flipped through the brochure. It looks quite interesting, so let's go take a look in 3 days. Quote, at the Chang'an Memorial Hall of the Great Tang Dynasty, a cultivator from various sects or freely practicing also discussed and received a promotional leaflet. However, compared to other common people in the Tang dynasty, the faces of these cultivators were much more solemn. Just because of the word, Journey to the West, on the promotional flyer, after all, this event is related to the flourishing of Buddhism and the journey of Tang Sanzang to the West to obtain scriptures. Overall, isn't it a journey to the West? Jin Xianzi has already left Chang'an and embarked on the journey to the West to obtain scriptures. At this time, Why is this person doing these things in Chang'an? Lin Qingwu flipped through the promotional flyer in her hand, feeling somewhat puzzled. According to legend, the three realms immortals who are interested in this journey to the west have already begun to lay out their plans on the journey to the west. Even if you want to settle in Chang'an, it should be before Jin Changzi leaves Chang'an. Is this still useful even if it's a bit sudden? The matter of journey to the west is not something we can intervene in, let alone intervene. Since we have chosen to continue settling in Chang'an, let's just wait and see what happens. Quote, Mu Yingzu's face was cautious. Those who could intervene, or rather dared to intervene, in the affairs of the journey to the west were all famous immortals and great supernatural powers in the three realms. Little friars like them, who have just built a fairyland, should not interfere. I'm afraid they will be killed by the King Kong Arhat when they are just about to contact the Western travel. However, since the other party chooses to continue settling down in Chang'an, as a member of the Tang Dynasty Memorial Hall, as long as they continue to watch, they can naturally see something to some extent. It seems that even if Jin Changzi leaves Chang'an, Chang'an still cannot calm down. Quote, Ming Shijing looked up in the direction of Qimeng Pavilion and let out a light sigh. An old man lying on a rocking chair at the entrance of a street in Chang'an muttered in a low voice while fanning a fan, "Who is this old man who is calculating behind the scenes? He can't even figure it out." Similar discussions echoed throughout Chang'an, and even this promotional flyer was delivered to Li Shimen's desk in the Taiji Hall of the Imperial Palace. After all, it involves the Golden Cicada and the journey to the west. Even the Tang Dynasty Emperor Li Shimen had to be cautious. You should know that the previous Shang Zhou, who was involved in the struggle between Buddhism, Taoism, and Taoism, had already cooled down, and as a result, he even demoted the emperor to the emperor. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. The Tide of People. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The Tide of People. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. The flyer printed by Yun Tianqing states that the opening time is exactly 6 o'clock, which means it will start at 9 o'clock sharp. Thanks to the bombardment of propaganda in the past 3 days, coupled with the popularity of celebrities and the scarcity of entertainment activities in the Tang dynasty, not only has the entire Chang'an been affected by the Qimeng Pavilion, but it has also attracted at least 1% of the Chang'an people. Don't think that the number of 1% is very small. You should know that the total population of Chang'an in the Great Tang Dynasty reached tens of millions, and 1% also had more than 100,000 people. At this moment, looking down from the height of Qimeng Pavilion, one can see a surge of people below, densely surrounding Qimeng Pavilion. Even due to the high volume of people, the southwest where Qimeng Pavilion is located is blocked and unable to move, and the sounds of shouting and scolding fluctuate between each other. And the dozens at the forefront of the crowd are all the top second-generation power of the Tang dynasty. It's hard to say whether this one will continue to exist in the future. Meng Bo looked at Yun Tianqing in a cold sweat at the moment and said, "Master, there are too many people coming today. Should we start raising the cloud bed early?" The cloud bed is a magical tool that Yun Tianqing specifically rented from Chang and Beigungmen before, which can allow multiple people to ride in the cloud bed and float for hundreds of miles. In order to solve today's crowded scene. After all, if there were no magic weapons like cloud beds, even if Yun Tianqing played an outdoor movie, the number of people who could watch it smoothly would not be too many. Moreover, the viewing experience of standing and watching movies is also too poor, which is not conducive to subsequent development. In order to successfully open up the situation today, for the past 6 months, Yun Tianqing has been thinking about possible problems and how to solve them every day. Notify Bai Longma to raise the cloudbed and surround the Qimeng Pavilion in a stepped manner, Yun Tianqing said as he looked at Meng Bofan's instructions. Yes, Lord. Quote. A moment later, from front to back, batches of Chang'an residents were all stepping on the cloudbed and rising up in a burst of shouting and shouting. Hey! This battle has caused a lot of trouble, making me look forward to this Qimeng Pavilion even more. Cheng Chuliang looked left and right, not as surprised as other people in Chang'an. Martial artists can also withstand emptiness when they reach a certain level of cultivation, and coincidentally, the 3 brothers of the Cheng family have all reached this level. I'm afraid the bigger the commotion now, the more boring the upcoming program will be. Chang Sunkong shook his folding fan, looking as if he was waiting to see a good show. If the program we're waiting for is not good, I'll find a reason to report it and have Chang'an Guard ban it, Fang Yi said fiercely. They've been held back for half a year and just found some fun, but when they came over this morning and wanted to enter, they were stopped by someone and had to wait outside for most of the time. In the Chang and Memorial Hall, practitioners from various sects who were dispatched to Chang, and also exhibited the Xuanguang mirror. Observing the scene on the other side of the Qimeng Pavilion through the Xuanguang mirror. The imperial palace, inside the Tai Chi Hall, has just dispersed from the morning court. Li Shimen sat on the throne, accompanied by Empress Changsun. The 2 of them quietly looked at the image of the Xuanguang mirror displayed by the monk in front of them, who was practicing magic at the altar. As an emperor, it is natural to have extremely high control over one's own empire and the emperor in which one resides. When he wants to know something, as long as it does not exceed the level that the entire empire cannot achieve, he must be able to clearly know the information he wants. And how could Li Shimen not investigate the existence of someone who dares to touch porcelain and travel to the West? The only result of the investigation is that he is a very ordinary and normal person who runs a restaurant. Half a year ago, I came to Chang'an and applied for the construction of a 7-story tower. Except for a few times when I went out to hire some servants, I never stepped out of the tower. Besides, there is no other news. Even Yun Tianqing, who was the spokesperson on the stage, Li Shimen did not find any information about him before coming to the Tang dynasty 6 months ago, as if it had emerged out of thin air. But in Li Shimen's opinion, this result could not be a normal outcome. It didn't come early, it didn't come late, and it happened to arrive 6 months ago when the curtain of the journey to the West was about to open, preparing to create momentum for the Golden Cicada. It was clear that it was coming with a focus on the journey to the West. For this reason, Li Shimen even sought the heavenly supervisor to calculate the heavenly secrets about the Qimeng Pavilion. But the obtained heavenly secrets display and investigation results were not different. At this moment, Li Shimen confirmed that there was indeed a great power behind the Qimeng Pavilion, and at least it exceeded the realm of Taiyi. Because the Tang dynasty's heavenly supervisor used national luck to calculate the origins of even the cultivators in the Taiyi realm. This gave Li Shimen a headache. After all, those immortals in the past all hid their identities and descended to the mortal world, and they wouldn't cause trouble like they do now. But unfortunately, he doesn't have any good way. With the blessing of national luck and a constitutional word, he is a fairy god who can expel the realm of Taiyi, but that's all. Those who want to truly have the confidence to face the great supernatural powers above the Taiyi realm equally must have the full support of the human ancestors and the 3 emperors and 5 emperors. But this situation is simply impossible now. He is only the emperor of a country, not a human emperor. I hope there won't be any great supernatural powers. Let's use Chang'an as a chess game and the Tang dynasty as a strategy to design a journey to the west. Li Shimen sighed helplessly, feeling even more eager for the power and position of the ancient emperor. That is the position authority that can truly have an equal dialogue with Haoshan God, but unfortunately, it is almost impossible in this era. The last one closest to regaining the power of the human emperor and standing on par with the 3 emperors and 5 emperors was Yingzheng of the Qin family. However, in the end, he failed and was buried together with the great Qin. In the void of the Tai Chi Hall, Qizhe and Chao Feng, who were sent by the ancestral land of the human race to specifically guard the safety of Li Shimen and Empress Changsun, were also transmitting messages to each other. Chao Feng, can you figure out the existence behind that Qimeng Pavilion? Quote, Chao Feng shook her head and said, I can't figure it out. I have nothing to gain. I think even among the Dalai Lama, if it weren't for an extremely powerful existence, it would be an innate spiritual treasure with the type of shielding heavenly secrets. Quote, upon hearing this, Qizhe couldn't help but frown. He knew that Chao Feng's calculation ability was much higher than his own, and that the existence that could make her gain nothing must be one of the great supernatural beings among the great Luo. If such a great supernatural person really wants to cause trouble, they cannot withstand it. Should we inform our ancestors and make arrangements early, just in case? Quote, after pondering for a moment, Chao Feng finally decided not to inform his ancestors for the time being. Wait a moment. Since the other party did not directly take action, it means that the other party is not willing to directly oppose our human race. As long as the other party does not harm the human race's luck, they will indiscriminately attack the killing creatures. Everything else, let the other party go. It is not a good thing for the human race to provoke a great divine power person for nothing. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Amazing opening. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Amazing opening. Inside the Qimeng Pavilion, Meng Bo looked at everyone and said, are you all ready? Have you remembered everything the pavilion master taught you before? Remember it all. Everyone below also saw the crowd surrounding outside, and naturally knew that today was very important for Qimeng Pavilion. Okay. Everyone take their positions. When the cabinet leader starts, we must not make any mistakes. Meng Bo took a deep breath and ordered. Regarding the opening of this event, Yun Tianqing thought of many tricks, but in the end, he had to cancel it. There is nothing else, because this is the prosperous Tang dynasty. On the one hand, you can say that the people of Chang'an have shallow knowledge, but on the other hand, the people of Chang'an can also be said to have extensive knowledge. If you want to attract attention with any magic or supernatural powers, then Yun Tianqing can't really handle cultivators in the wasteland world now. Because he is now a weak chicken with low strength, relying solely on his own integrated system to evade the divine. Since the path of showing off skills is not feasible, we can only rely on our hearts. Coincidentally, he also knows this. I have to know if I don't know, otherwise I won't have a way to go. Outside the Qimeng Pavilion, a group of Chang'an people who had been waiting for a long time suddenly saw a wind and sand rising around them, and soon it had become a yellow sand-filled sky. But when they reached out to touch these sandstorms, they found nothing but an illusion. When the yellow sand scattered in the sky, all the people of Chang'an sitting on the cloud bed found that the area below had turned into a vast desert. Of course, with the experience just now, everyone knows that the desert in front of them is also an illusion. Just as everyone felt something interesting, the faint sound of clear springs and flowing water, as well as the crisp and ethereal wind chimes, could be heard from afar. A man walked step by step from a distant desert, and as he approached, the music that lingered in his ears became increasingly clear. Once, now, it's gone. Never come again. Red, fallen leaves, buried in the dust. The beginning and end always remain unchanged. You wander in the sky, outside the white clouds. The desolate desert. Ethereal soundtrack, and a slightly hoarse and deep singing voice. Almost effortlessly, it brought the audience present, as well as other viewers who were watching remotely through various means, into a bitter yet profound and melodious atmosphere. Slightly sour yet full of regret. When it comes to singing skills, Yun Tianqing can only be said to be excellent, and compared to those peerless singers who receive food and drink from the heavens, he is still far behind. But what's important about songs is never their singing skills, but their empathy and resonance. As long as a song or singer can evoke empathy and resonance among listeners, it is a good song and a good singer. A Lifetime Love is undoubtedly a masterpiece, and relying on the illusions created by Beigungmen, the musical atmosphere, and the deep and sorrowful voice of Yun Tianqing are enough to evoke empathy and resonance among everyone. The sea of bitterness stirs up love and hate. In this world, it is difficult to escape fate. Blind date, unexpectedly impossible, approaching. Or I should believe, it's fate. Quote, in a private room of a restaurant not far from the Qimeng Pavilion, 3 elderly men wearing Confucian robes and with clear and handsome faces were all listening with their eyes closed. If Cheng Yaojin and other students from the Imperial Academy were here, they would surely exclaim in surprise, because one of the 3 people present was the Imperial Academy's sacrificial wine. And the other 2 were the Imperial Academy's left and right officials, all of whom were famous scholars. Let's be frank. The Imperial College is in chaos. They have the final say. At this moment, Zhao Xie, who was referred to as a cold-faced scholar by Cheng Yaojin and others behind the scenes, was the Guozijian student. Sima Zhang, who usually chose to take a detour when he met him from afar, had a gentle face as if he had been touched by some memories. However, he immediately smiled bitterly and murmured silently, in this world, is it difficult to escape fate? Lover, after parting, forever, never come again, dissipated love. Silent, sitting alone, looking beyond the world, may it continue in the future. Although flowers may wither, only wish. They will bloom again, for you. Love for a lifetime, waiting, faintly, outside the white clouds, looking forward to. In the flower god temple, a blooming begonia flower suddenly appeared with a palm-sized beautiful figure sitting on the flower bud. With a small and delicate hand wave, the scene of the strange dream pavilion appeared in front of it. The sea of bitterness stirs up love and hate. In this world, it is difficult to escape fate. Blind date, unexpectedly impossible, approaching. Or I should believe, it's fate. Quote, at the end of the song, there are still lingering sounds. Although not to the extent that a single song can make over 100,000 viewers shed tears, some of them have rich emotions and are particularly regretful about a past relationship. They cannot let go of it, but the audience, who usually restrain themselves and put it in their hearts, can no longer help but shed tears at this moment. Yun Tianqing stood at the top of the Qimeng Tower with his hands down, and the illusions of yellow sand that had previously lingered around him were now completely dispersed. Looking around, there are crowds of people on the cloudbed, high and low, far and near. Among them, there are top-level Tang dynasty nobles such as the Cheng brothers, Chang Sun Chong, and Fang Yizhi, as well as seemingly ordinary but actually ethereal immortals in Yun Tianqing's perception, who have not yet left Chang'an. But no matter who it is, as long as it doesn't interrupt him directly, it doesn't matter to him. Welcome to Qimeng Pavilion. I am the Pavilion Master Yun Tianqing. Thank you all for coming and making Qimeng Pavilion shine brightly. Yun Tianqing looked around and continued, bowing in all directions. Here, there are touching and winding legendary stories to listen to with you. Here, there are unique and brand new photos to enjoy with you. Here, there are still many strange, absurd yet interesting things to be discovered by everyone. The photo story, Journey to the West, that will be shown for free later is one of them. I hope everyone likes it. Master, you're welcome. Just one song just now. Today's trip is worth it. I don't know the name of this song. Quote, when the audience was somewhat silent and unsure of their response, a melodious voice sounded from afar and then spread throughout the world. The title of this song is A Lifetime Love, and it is also the theme song for the later screening of Journey to the West. Just as Yun Tianqing finished answering, another voice rang out. The Journey to the West, mentioned by the pavilion master, seems to have a saint appearing on the promotional paper the day before yesterday. Is this photo telling the story of the saint's journey to the West to obtain scriptures? Yes or no? The story told in the photo is about Tang Sanzang's journey to the West to obtain scriptures. However, this Tang Sanzang may differ from the holy monks you know, or it could be said that this is a photo taken by a group of professional actors in a unique way based on a story. As for the quality of the photo story, it is up to you to evaluate. Yun Tianqing calmly answered one or two questions that occasionally appeared. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Journey to the West. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Journey to the West. After answering questions for a quarter of an hour, Yun Tianqing, who was aware that the audience was becoming increasingly impatient, stopped talking nonsense and waved his hand to announce the official release of Journey to the West. Moonlight Treasure Box. 108 borrowed tools from the Beigungmen, while crazily injecting mana to cast spells, fully opened the special photo jade slips handed over to them by Yun Tianqing. The image imprinted inside the photo jade slips slowly unfolds like a giant screen that covers the sky, presenting a huge 3D three-dimensional image of the void. Not only can the entire city of Chang'an be seen, but at least the people of Chang'an who are close to the Qimeng Pavilion can all look up and see it. Even the knowledgeable people of Chang'an or other cultivators were taken aback by such a big commotion. They had seen many photo-taking jade slips, and many of them even had a few in their hands. They could easily buy them at Chang'an Baigunmen, but they had never seen a photo-taking jade slip that could project such a huge image. This is also the reason why Yun Tianqing wants to rent so many tools from Beigungmen. Since ordinary Liang jade slips cannot control them, let's expand the Liang jade slips as much as possible. As the screen of the void image slowly opened, everyone quieted down and looked up, while Yun Tianqing sat quietly watching. Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, Sun Wukong, you beast. You promised the Buddha to escort your master Tang Sanzang to retrieve the Western scriptures, but you colluded with the bull demon king to eat your master. Do you know that you have committed a heinous crime? Sun Wukong said. Stop talking. You chased me for 3 days and 3 nights, and because you are a woman, I won't kill you. Don't think I'm afraid of you. In the photo-taking scene, Guanyin Bodhisattva steps on the 9-petal lotus platform, holding a jade clean bottle and raising her eyebrows, angrily scolding Sun Wukong, who is wearing a golden armor and holding a golden cudgel. Sun Wukong took the golden cudgel back with a stick and looked up at Guanyin Bodhisattva with a rebellious expression. Up and down. The red background light behind Guanyin Bodhisattva creates a strong sense of color conflict with the dark and steaming clouds behind Sun Wukong. Tang Sanzang sat on the ground between the two, as if indicating something. The first act of the entire journey to the West is to get to the point and clearly state the identities of the three people present. Especially when seeing Tang Sanzang in the picture with a silly and cute expression, he said to Sun Wukong, "Wukong, how could you talk to Sister Guanqi Zhu like this?" Quote, most of the ordinary audience present had strange expressions, and most of them had seen the holy monk Tang Sanzang with their own eyes. There were also many viewers who had spoken to the holy monk Tang Sanzang. Especially when Tang Sanzang left yesterday, many people went to see him off. Leaving aside the appearance of Tang Sanzang, his temperament alone is completely different from their understanding of Tang Sanzang. But strangeness comes from strangeness, and this unique holy monk Tang Sanzang has indeed aroused the interest of the audience. After all, the current Great Tang dynasty did not have the journey to the West by Teacher Lu, nor did it have preconceived notions, and was not afraid of apologizing for two blooms. As for other cultivators who hide among the crowd or watch photos through various remote means, at the moment when Sun Wukong and Guanyin Bodhisattva appear, they secretly say, "Indeed." The existence behind the Qimeng Pavilion is indeed trying to intervene in the matter of the journey to the West, but how does the other party plan the journey to the West? Is it just relying on such a so-called journey to the West photo? Although they couldn't understand the intentions behind the Qimeng Pavilion, they were still quite interested in the seemingly grand arrangement of Guanyin Bodhisattva, Sun Wukong, and Golden Cicada. Anyway, if there is a problem, it is the great power behind the Qimeng Pavilion who can handle it. They are just sneaking a peek. Yun Tianqing watched the screening of Journey to the West, and a hint of nostalgia flashed in his eyes. In this unfamiliar world of the Tang dynasty, Journey to the West can be considered as the first thing he brought to this world that he was familiar with. However, compared to the original version of Journey to the West, the version he is currently screening has made some changes. For example, props, the lotus platform of Guanyin Bodhisattva in the first act of the original version is fake and not necessary. Most of the scenery is also rudimentary. And the special effects of fighting are also 50 cents. These are all problems caused by the limitations of special effects technology and budget issues of the production team at that time, whether it's big or small. But now that there is a chance to start over, Yun Tianqing naturally needs to make up for such shortcomings. Of course, another important reason is that this is the Honghuang Tang dynasty. If you show the original special effects to the Honghuang immortal god, it will really make him laugh. So, in terms of special effects, we put in a lot of effort to create as grand as we can imagine. The whole thing is grand and dreamy, but it's all fake. It's all based on our own research on the strength of the practitioners in the wilderness, and the actual cost is not much. In addition, he made some minor changes to the names of three people, but only changed Body Ancestor to Grape Ancestor, Jade Emperor to Great Heavenly Emperor, and Guanyin Master to Avalokitesvara. This modification is mainly to avoid taboos against Body Patriarch, Jade Emperor, and Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva. After all, in this vast world, as long as one's cultivation reaches the level of a great god, when someone recites their name, they will have a sense of empathy. Yun Tianqing didn't want to be killed by a powerful palm that fell from the sky due to a telepathic response from a great supernatural being before the screening of his movie, Journey to the West, was completed. However, those who have some common knowledge of cultivation can basically see who the great heavenly Lord and the worldview freedom in Journey to the West refer to. At most they don't know who the great ancestor is referring to. As for the names of characters such as Sun Wukong, Zixia, Tang Sanzang, Niu Mowang, Bai Jingjing, and Chun Sanyang, Yun Tianqing will not change them. Firstly, the level of these characters has not reached the level of a great god expert, and even if they are used directly, they will not be telepathic. Although this can also create a cause and effect relationship with the other party. As long as you have the strength to resist this cause and effect before the other party comes knocking on you, it doesn't matter. Secondly, it remains to be seen whether characters like Bai Jingjing and Zixia Xianzi in the drama actually existed in the wilderness. This is about changes in props, special effects, and individual names. He doesn't change the specific plot at all. After all, the original version has become an eternal classic with such simple props and 50-cent special effects, relying on the plot to fly. Special effects are just for the sake of the plot. If you pursue special effects too much and ignore the plot, it goes without saying that this movie has a 99% chance of falling out. There are many examples of this in the past life. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Supreme Treasure. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Supreme Treasure. The image in the void is still changing. Tang Sanzang said, Hey, hey, hey. Don't be angry. You'll break the anger warning. Wukong, you're too mischievous. I told you not to throw things around. How come? Look, before I finish speaking, you threw away the stick again. The moonlight treasure box is a treasure. Throwing it away will pollute the environment. What if you hit the children? Even if you can't hit them, it's not right to hit those flowers and plants. Quote, Tang Sanzang said, Do you want it? Wukong, if you want it, just talk. How do I know you want it if you don't? Although you look at me with sincerity, you still want to tell me what you want. Do you really want it? Then you can take it. You don't really want it. Do you really want it? Do you really want it? Quote, when everyone watched Sun Wukong's bewildered and helpless expression amidst Tang Sanzang's chatter, to the point where he writhed in pain, they couldn't help but burst out laughing. Especially the Cheng brothers and others sitting on the front row of cloudbeds were smiling and lying on the ground, showing no respect for aristocratic faces. The flower fairy on the begonia flower in the flower god temple couldn't help but cover her mouth and chuckle lightly. This Tang Sanzang is quite interesting. Much more interesting than the golden cicada. In the Tai Chi hall, Li Shimen and Empress Changsun peered at each other face to face. In the end, Empress Changsun couldn't help but laugh out loud. The younger brother in the photo is much more talkative than the younger brother who just left yesterday, Your Majesty. The image of taking a photo in the void has once again changed. If the impression of Tang Sanzang in the photo was still stuck in a chatterbox in the previous moment, then when Tang Sanzang threw his staff into the air, clasped his hands together, and said to the Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, Please tell the Heavenly Master, I am willing to sacrifice my life. There is no Amitabha Buddha in the south. When the fallen staff pierced through the heavenly spirit cover and died, everyone remained slightly silent. No matter how Tang Sanzang talks, this great compassion is true. Fortunately, This low atmosphere only lasted for a short period of time, and the audience was immediately amused by the bandit, Da Zun Zunbao, and his group of younger brothers who were 500 years later. When seeing Zhizhenbao dealing with Chunsan Niang, a group of younger brothers said they would run away, completely ignoring Zhizhenbao as the boss, when the second in command, in order to avoid dealing with Chunsan Niang, would rather be stabbed in the thigh by the supreme treasure knife without saying a word. The audience was even more overjoyed. They had never seen such an ungrateful mountain bandit before, especially when I saw a key part of the Zhizhenbao's lower body catching fire. Fortunately, when the second in charge forcefully extinguished the fire, the entire southwest side of Chang'an was filled with laughter, and many people were laughing uncontrollably. "Who are you?" As Supreme Treasure was trying to find a way to regain his sexy beard, he saw an old man appear in his room with a wheezing sound. "I am the bunch of grapes you brought back." Grape Ancestor looked as if he had matured naturally without any hesitation. "Are you a grape?" "No. I am the ancestor of grapes." "What kind of mother is Portugal?" Quote, "Are you taking advantage of me? I am the grape ancestor. I am a fairy, and I transformed into a grape to save you. You stole my grapes and returned them to my mother." Quote, "Those two women are monsters. If you don't believe them, just take a look at my mirror and you'll understand." "I'll take a look at your mother's demon mirror. Speak up. Listen to me." Quote, "Did you steal my grapes?" "I don't have it." "No. Where did my grapes go?" "I'm just a grape." "Speak up. I am your grape. Why don't you make apples instead of grapes?" Quote, "Interestingly, the old immortal behind this Qimeng Pavilion is so arrogant. Even the old man body dares to arrange it like this. I'm afraid he might have a fight with the old man body in the future, but I don't know if he can win." Quote, "A bad old man on Chang'an Street had his eyes lit up when he saw the scene of Zhizhenbao beating Grape Ancestor. Among the three realms, there are not many people who know about Body Patriarch, and he happens to be one. And those who know the relationship between Body Patriarch and Sun Wukong are even rarer, but fortunately, he is still one of the few." After some thought, the old man finally decided not to pass on this image to Body Patriarch for the time being. After this image spreads throughout the three realms, he will pass it on to Body Patriarch. At that time, the expression of Body Patriarch must have been very amusing. When the Supreme Treasure dug out a moonlit treasure box from the ground that could use the moonlight to travel through time and space. Suddenly a mysterious force led the Supreme Treasure to the Water Curtain Cave. In the Water Curtain Cave, a portrait of the world watching freely ignites without reason and floats in mid-air, while a voice enters the ears of the Supreme Treasure. "Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva. 500 years ago, your master Tang Sanzang sacrificed himself to redeem your life. The Heavenly Lord specially arranged for you to return to the mortal world 500 years later. He hopes that you can learn from your master and sacrifice yourself to clean up all your past sins. As long as you are willing to voluntarily wear the diamond ring and reform yourself, you can become the powerful great sage of Tian. At that time, you will bear the heavy responsibility of taking the Western Sutra and making a new chapter in history." Quote. "But from now on, everything in this world has nothing to do with you. You can no longer have any desire or attachment, and you must wholeheartedly convert to my Buddha. You haven't become the true reincarnation of Sun Wukong yet, because you haven't met the person who gave you 3 moles. When you meet him, your life will change." When they saw this, everyone understood that the Supreme Treasure was indeed the reincarnation of Sun Wukong. And now he is still an ordinary person because he has not voluntarily put on the diamond ring yet. Only when he voluntarily puts on the diamond ring can he become the powerful and boundless holy son Wukong. It really seems like a Buddhist method, sneered the old man on the street of Chang'an, taking a sip of his turbid wine. When people see the moonlight box, they can really travel through time and space. When they go back in time, I don't know how many people have bright eyes, fantasizing about having such a moonlight box that they can go back in time. However, this is just the idea of ordinary people in Chang'an, and most practitioners who enter the ranks of cultivation do not believe it. Especially for those with higher and deeper cultivation, they are more skeptical. It's not that they don't believe in the possibility of traveling through time and space and returning to the past, but rather that they don't believe in anyone who can reverse the flow of time and space and return to the past under the supervision of the primordial Tao. Those who have reached the realm of Dala can have access to the vast rivers of time and space, but being able to do so does not mean being able to interfere. The realm of Dala is a testament to eternity, and the Dala people are almost immortal. Even if they fall, they can return after endless years. However, interfering with the long river of time and space is one of the few taboos that can prevent the Dalai Lama from returning, because once the long river of time and space is forcibly refluxed, it will be targeted by the Hunghuang heavenly Tao. A purple sky-destroying thunder sea will turn the Dalai Lama into ashes, and then the information concept of the Dalai Lama will be erased from the Hunghuang heaven and earth. If it cannot be erased, it will be sealed, and the time for the Dalai Lama to return will be indefinitely postponed. In theory, when will the flood and famine return to the countryside, and when will the Dalai Lama have a chance to return on the front line? Hunghuang Tiandao, it's just so arrogant. Just tell you. Don't touch anything that shouldn't be touched. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Source point of 560,000 RMB. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Source point of 560,000 RMB. Zixia Fairy. I now solemnly declare that everything in this mountain belongs to me, including you. Supreme treasure. Me. Zixia Fairy. Yes. Just like my donkey, I'll give you a seal. You're now my person. If anyone bullies you, just give me my name. From today on, I'm called Pansi Daxian. Supreme treasure. Pansi Da Xian. 500 years ago. Quote, when the public saw the supreme treasure travel back 500 years ago, he met the Pansi immortal and gave him 3 moles on the soles of his feet, officially becoming the reincarnation of Sun Wukong. The giant screen image in the void slowly disappeared. All the mesmerized viewers were dissatisfied and shouted loudly, "Is that it? Is that it? Hurry up. Let the rest of the story come out." Quote, that's right. We need to see the following story. We need to see if the supreme treasure has become the great sage of heaven, Sun Wukong. Quote, roaring alone is not a big deal. But if more than 100,000 spectators speak up together at the scene, then the roar is truly deafening. Quiet. A soft drink immediately overwhelmed the voices of tens of thousands of people present. Everyone fixed their gaze on Yun Tianqing in the center, waiting for him to give an explanation. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an hour since the opening of the Qimeng Pavilion. Why don't you take a break for half an hour, eat something, drink some drinks, or buy some snacks to watch later while eating and watching? On the cloudbed snack boat flying in front of you, there is a variety of food to choose from. If there are any other issues that require a temporary departure, you can also follow the cloudbed flying in front of you to temporarily leave. However, please note that, Journey to the West. The Great Sage Getting Married will be screened in half an hour. If you want to continue watching, remember to come back in time. After speaking, Yun Tianqing flew into the Qimeng Pavilion. As for the rest of the audience, you look at me, I look at you. Then look at the rows of snacks placed on the cloud bed in front of you, and the fragrance of various snacks permeating the surroundings. Also, look at the fact that it is already noon, and indeed a bit hungry. After swallowing saliva, I couldn't help but shout, "Can you give me a portion of this handmade pancake?" Quote, "I want a bottle of this drink called Coca-Cola. What is that popcorn? Give me a portion." Quote, inside the Qimeng Pavilion, the butler Meng Bo watched as the cloud-bed snack boats filled with various foods were quickly sold out. When he turned to look at his own pavilion owner Yun Tianqing, his eyes were filled with admiration. In Meng Bo's view, the previous Qimeng Pavilion had always been profitable. Whether it's renting numerous cloudbeds from Beigungmen for free to carry the people of Chang, An, or taking such wonderful jade slips for free to show to everyone. All of these belong to the operation of the black sheep. If these two are used to collect money, I don't know how much money they will make. But now looking at the cloudbed snack boats that were constantly being emptied and sent up, Meng Bo suddenly felt that even if the first two were free, relying solely on snacks would be enough for Qimengji to recoup costs and make a big profit. After all, the cloudbed is only temporarily rented for one day by Qimeng Pavilion, and taking photos of the jade slips only costs some labor costs for renting 100 workers. These two expenses are simply not too cheap compared to the actual food purchased and consumed. Meng Bo's ideas were naturally unknown to Yun Tianqing. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care. For him, at the moment he crossed over, he was already inhuman. He cannot even achieve his own cultivation, and no matter how much money the human race earns, it is useless to him. If it weren't for using this money to trade with other Tang merchants, he might have been able to do it for free all the way, and even do promotional work at a loss. However, in order to save himself some trouble, Yun Tianqing still doesn't mind making a fortune by hand. After all, he can't rely on him to use his source points every time to convert money, as that would be too much of a loss for him. But that was a poor day before, and now he is checking his current source point balance in the sea space. Name: Yun Tianqing. Essence: the master of cultural communication system. Energy source: based on the spread of cultural entertainment, the cost source point is the result of the transformation of sentient beings' emotions and desires. Current number of original source points: 564,573. The current works that have obtained the 7 emotions and 6 desires of sentient beings include Our Tale of Journey to the West, Moonlight Treasure Box, and A Lifetime Love. Watching the current amount of spiritual consciousness manifested within the sea of 564,573, which is still rising, Yun Tianqing couldn't help but be overjoyed. When I first traveled here half a year ago, I dared not make any big moves and only spread relevant entertainment culture to my employees in Qimeng Pavilion. Over the course of 6 months, I have only accumulated over 10,000 original points. In order to evolve and burn Journey to the West, I spent more than 6,000 original points. In order to perfectly master the song, Love for a Lifetime, I also spent more than 1,000 original points. In the end, there are only over 2,000 original points left to maintain my daily existence. And now, in just 1 hour, Yun Tianqing has earned over 560,000 yuan, which is just like overnight wealth for Yun Tianqing, who has been poor for most of the year. However, the on-site audience is only about 100,000 people, and the other viewers who can be seen looking up in Chang'an are only around 150,000. Even if there are many emotionally rich people among them who can convert a lot of original points, there won't be more than 560,000 original points. So, it seems that there are still immortals who haven't left Chang'an City. Yun Tianqing looked at the more than 560,000 original points displayed on the original point, feeling lost in thought. In the past 6 months, he has already thoroughly studied the cultural dissemination system he has integrated. The emotional fluctuations that arise when the audience perceives these works through their own dissemination of culture, entertainment, music, and other factors, whether it is joy, anger, sorrow, or fear, will all transform into their own origin. In this process, once a person with higher cultivation experiences emotional fluctuations, they will have more transformed origins, which is the reason for the different essence of life. Moreover, people with higher cultivation levels find it more difficult to experience intense emotional fluctuations. Without it, they are more knowledgeable and knowledgeable. If they see similar things more often, it will naturally become more and more difficult to trigger their emotional fluctuations. If the scale of the origin point of emotional fluctuations generated by people who have not practiced before and practitioners who have not broken through the fairyland is 1.9, then the origin point of emotional fluctuations generated by a practitioner who has broken through the fairyland is 10,100. As for the conversion rate of existence above the fairyland, it is currently unknown to Yun Tianqing because he was forced to stay at home before and had no contact with practitioners above the fairyland. However, based on Yun Tianqing's calculations, the difference in this realm may increase tenfold. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. The Great Sage of Qi Tian. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The Great Sage of Qi Tian. However, what about the immortal god of the wilderness? Give me time. I will surpass the immortal god and the sage. Feeling the constantly rising origin point, Yun Tianqing's confidence also became abundant. As the leader of the cultural dissemination system, he possesses the second ability, to refine falsehoods into reality. As long as the source point is sufficient, he can embody the fantasy novels, film and television worlds, or characters that have been spread out. According to my own understanding from the system, this manifestation can be divided into 3 different levels of manifestation, such as Sun Wukong in the Chinese Odyssey to the West. The first type is to possess Sun Wukong's all-out power, which requires the consumption of 2 million source points. The second type is to embody the peak cultivation of Sun Wukong into oneself, which requires 20 million source points. The third type is to truly embody the spirit of journey to the West, Sun Wukong, which requires a total of 200 million source points. The last manifestation method among these 3 is the most expensive, but the embodied creatures are the true ones. In addition to not betraying Yun Tianqing, they have their own joys, sorrows, and joys, and can also cultivate and break through the cultivation level of their peak period on their own. We need to speed up, set a small goal first and earn him 1 billion. Yun Tianqing, who had retreated from the sea of consciousness space, looked at how almost half an hour had passed and immediately arranged for the tool men of Beigungmen to play the second half of Journey to the West. The Great Sage getting married. Outside, a group of spectators were eating and drinking their fill, sitting or half lying down, eating snacks and drinking drinks, lazily waiting for the start of the lower part. Li Shimen and Empress Changsun in the Tai Chi Hall also finished their lunch early today, waiting for the second half of the photo to be played. And Yun Tianqing didn't make everyone wait for too long. Soon, with the efforts of the tools from the Beigungmen, the familiar illusion of the heavenly shield was once again revealed. And the scene continued with the scene of the supreme treasure traveling through time and space and encountering the purple cloud fairy. Tang Sanzang said, "Wukong wants to eat me. It's just a concept that hasn't become a fact yet. You don't have evidence, so why did he commit any crimes? Why not wait until he eats me, and you have evidence to prove it before convicting him?" Quote, Guanyin Bodhisattva said, "Tang Sanzang, I've heard of you talking so long ago, but I didn't expect you to be so talkative. The diamond circle I gave you is for you to use to subdue this monkey, but you don't need it." Tang Sanzang said, "The size of that diamond ring is too poor. It's heavy in the front and light in the back, wide on the left and narrow on the right. He feels very uncomfortable when he wears it, and he sleeps all night, which will affect me. Although he's a monkey, you can't treat him like this. The government will say I mistreat animals when they find out. Speaking of that diamond ring, last year I met a blacksmith in Chenjia village. He's exquisitely handcrafted, reasonably priced, and fair to both the young and the elderly. Why don't I introduce you to make another one?" Sun Wukong. "Shut up. Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva. Shut up. Ha ha ha. Tang Sanzang is so interesting." Cheng Chumo smiled and lay on the cloud bed, constantly pounding it with his hands. It's no wonder Sun Wukong couldn't stand his verbosity. Even Guan Shizi couldn't stand his verbosity. Chang Sunkong kept using his hand to follow his chest, afraid that he would laugh out of breath and faint. If he didn't see the story later, he would have suffered greatly. Is this really Tang Sanzang? I feel like I can't remember exactly what the holy monk looks like. Fan Yizhi felt that the image of the holy monk in his mind was gradually fading away, and was now occupied by this phrase, Tang Sanzang. In the memorial hall, cultivators such as Ming Shijing, Mu Yingkue, and Lin Qingwu all laughed and collapsed in front of the Xuanguang mirror. I am deeply impressed by the senior who took this photo in my heart. Supreme treasure. At that time, the sword was only 0.01 centimeters away from my throat, but after a quarter of a burning incense stick, the female owner of the sword will completely fall in love with me because I have decided to tell a lie. Although I have told countless lies in my life, I believe this one is the most beautiful. When many people saw that Zhizhenbao had captured the true heart of Zixia fairy with a lie, they secretly jotted down the words that Zhizhenbao had just said, preparing to say these words to her when they met their crush in the future. When I saw Princess Ironfan with a shy face, she said, "When I used to watch the moon with you, I called her little sweetheart. Now that new people surpass old people, I call her Mrs. Cow." Quote. All the audience couldn't help but take a cold breath. This sentence is so informative. And when the audience heard Tang Sanzang start singing the song, "Only You," they laughed uncontrollably. The lyrics, "I'll take the blame, I'll send you to death," really hit the laughing point of all the audience. However, after that, the development of the plot gradually changed. If the previous ones were all absurd and nonsensical, then the later ones began to gradually move towards tear-jerking and sadness. When people see Supreme Treasure and Grape arguing about whether they need a reason to love someone, it may seem like a funny plot, but everyone can't laugh at it. When seeing the reconciliation between Qingsha and Zixia sisters, Qingsha was captured to save her sister, Zixia, and even passed away through the chest. Many emotional girls have started to quietly wipe their tears. When the supreme treasure held up the diamond ring with both hands and was about to put it on, he heard Guan Shizi ask him if he had anything else to say. After a moment of contemplation, he spoke up. There used to be a sincere love in front of me, but I didn't cherish it. I regretted it when I lost it, and the most painful thing in this world is none other than this. If God could give me a chance to do it again, I would say to that girl, I love her. If I had to add a deadline to this love, I hope it would be 10,000 years. If the first time the audience heard this sentence from Zhizenbao, they still had a happy attitude of watching jokes and secretly learning flirtatious words, then now the second time they hear these words from Zhizenbao, they really can't help but burst into tears. Especially when Zixia saw Zixia blocking the bull demon king's fork for the sake of the supreme treasure. She looked regretfully at the supreme treasure and said, "My crush is an extraordinary hero. One day, he will step on the 7-colored clouds to marry me. I guessed the front, but I can't guess the ending." Quote. Finally, Sun Wukong and Zixia Fairy, one in pain, hugged their heads and roared, while the other fell from afar. The audience, who were originally holding back their tears, couldn't help but burst into tears when they saw this scene. They opened their throats and burst into tears. Anyway, with so many people crying together, it's not embarrassing to cry alone. Especially when Sun Wukong was beating the bull demon king. The harder he beat him, the louder everyone cried. Until the end, Sun Wukong saved his master Tang Sanzang and returned 500 years later, rewriting history and continuing to escort Tang Sanzang to the west to retrieve scriptures. When I saw the sunset warrior who looked exactly like Zhizenbao 500 years later holding the same chivalrous girl as Zixia Fairy, and looking at the departed Monkey King, I said, "He looks like a dog." All the audience looked depressed, and felt that their hearts were blocked, and they wanted to say something, but they didn't know what to say. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Film Surroundings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Film Surroundings. The screening of Journey to the West. The Great Sage Getting Married has been completed, but the audience of over 100,000 is now quiet, with only deep sobs accompanied by the ending song of A Lifetime Love. Until Yun Tianqing walked out, everyone seemed to suddenly react and spray towards Yun Tianqing. Why? Why treat the supreme treasure like this? Why not let him live a peaceful life with Bai Jingjing and Zixia Fairy? And why should he bring the diamond circle to obtain scriptures? Quote, the supreme treasure clearly doesn't want to wear the diamond ring. Why must he wear it? If he doesn't want to be the great sage of Qi Tian, Sun Wukong, can't he just be the supreme treasure of the 5 sacred mountains? You give me back the purple cloud fairy. Woo. My purple cloud fairy died so miserably. I request to change it to the ending where Zhizenbao and Zixia Fairy are together. Quote, that's right. We must change the ending to the one where Zhizenbao and Bai Jingjing are together. No. The supreme treasure must be with the purple cloud fairy. Quote, fart. The supreme treasure must be with Bai Jingjing. Don't say anything. Zhizenbao is with Zixia Fairy and Bai Jingjing. Quote, the crowd was surging, and the sound of over 100,000 spectators, one by one, almost drowned out Yun Tianqing. Be quiet, be quiet. Thanks to the sound amplification device made by Beigungman, it would be awesome. Otherwise, Yun Tianqing could not suppress the voice of more than 100,000 people. Ladies and gentlemen, please listen to me for a moment. First of all, the 2 parts of Journey to the West, have been completed, and changing the ending is impossible. After all, taking photos is not something I shot, it's just a screening at Qimeng Pavilion. I will also convey your love for Journey to the West on behalf of the director. What is the director? Oh, it's the person who filmed Journey to the West. Maybe the director will film a different ending to repay everyone after seeing your love. Of course, there is only a possibility. Whether to film it or not is up to the director's opinion, and it's not up to me to decide. How to express your love depends on your performance. Currently, there are 2-in-1 photo jade slips for sale in Journey to the West. In addition to the photo jade slips for Journey to the West, there are also a series of similar accessories for Journey to the West, such as the theme song single, Journey to the West, and the diamond circle and golden hoop stick. In addition to the same model as the Supreme Treasure, there are also wristband silver bells and purple-blue swords of the same model as the Purple Cloud Fairy. If you like them, you can take a look and buy 1 or 2 as a collectible souvenir. The quantity is limited, first come, first served, sold out. If you want to buy again, wait for another month. As Yun Tianqing introduced, the illusionary giant screen of the void also showcased the peripheral photos of Journey to the West, one by one. For example, the blacksmith from Qimengji village, known as Tang Sanzang's acquaintance in the drama, meticulously crafted the surrounding diamond circle, produced by the Beigungmen assembly line. This diamond ring can really be like the one worn by the Supreme Treasure in the photo, and once it feels like the owner has moved the mortal heart, it will start to contract. It may seem unbelievable, but this is the Great Tang Dynasty, just a small operation. A formation that can recognize the owner's emotional fluctuations is engraved on the replica diamond circle, and then an automatic shrinking size formation is added, resulting in a Supreme Treasure and the same diamond circle. Of course, the same version of the Supreme Treasure diamond ring is far inferior to the genuine version. For example, if a person wearing this diamond ring can casually use a spell to block their mental perception, they can block the formation perception that recognizes the owner's mood fluctuations on the diamond ring. And the size of this diamond ring that can shrink is also limited, and it will not shrink to death. The most important thing is that it can be picked off, and the quality is not good, so any practitioner in any mortal realm can break it with their bare hands. Overall, the Supreme Treasure has all the functions that the same diamond circle should have, but each function is far inferior to the original version. Similarly, there is the purple-green sword, of the same style as the Purple Cloud Fairy. As long as the person holding this purple-green sword has a strong desire to like someone, the other party can pull out this purple-green sword. To put it bluntly, whether it's the same diamond circle as the Supreme Treasure or the same purple-blue sword as the Purple Mist Fairy, they all have the same mental perception formation engraved on them. As long as they recognize and perceive strong emotions of liking and love, they will contract and relax one by one. From this perspective, the diamond circle and the purple-blue sword are really two treasures that are quite compatible. In addition to the Journey to the West series, we also have a heavyweight legendary serialized novel, The First Great Demon God in History, which takes you into the legendary life of the great demon god Lin Huang, who became a god first and then became a demon, overwhelming the invincible hands of the world. And the same legendary serialized novel, Seeking the Demon, kowtowing 3,000 years before the demon, looking back on the mortal world not being immortal. only for her to control the fate of life and death. Seeking truth is a way. It is destined to be winding and desolate. Magic is an attitude that is destined to be cold and persistent. Seeking demons, a life in the dark. And this is also Su Ming's life. In addition to novels, we also invited poets from all walks of life from the 3,000 realms to submit their works together, and finally selected the Record of Poetry and Poetry in Time, which includes various types of poetry and prose that have been passed down and shared with you for appreciation. In order to expand the influence of Qimeng Pavilion, Yun Tianqing not only released the recently screened Journey to the West peripheral works, but also carefully selected novels such as The First Demon God in History and Seeking Demons, as well as Chronicles of Poetry and Charm. The Greatest Demon God in History is a novel that Yun Tianqing read in his early past life. In the novel, Lin Huang was determined to become a god in the first half of his life, and had no regrets about becoming a demon in the second half. The pure pursuit of the Tao in the book, with a heart that can die overnight, should be very in line with the taste of a cultivator in the wilderness. And Seeking Demons is also a novel that Yun Tianqing read in his early past life. In the novel, Su Ming's indelible vicissitudes, sadness, and sense of destiny must also be very able to move the hearts and minds of the cultivators in the wilderness. Most importantly, both of these novels have chosen to be serialized for sale. Not for any other reason, just to arouse the reader's thoughts. Updated once a week, with each updated novel chapter consisting of 20 chapters. It's almost equivalent to saving up 2 shifts a day in the previous life, then saving up for a week and updating everything. At first, Yun Tianqing actually wanted to create a tool that could enable online reading of novels, but what about it? There are many ways to record the text, images, and content of a novel, but if you want to see a serialized and updated novel at the same time, you need a tool similar to a mother-child tool. When the novel on the mother tool is updated, the novel on the child tool is also updated synchronously. After consulting with reliable tools such as Baigong, Yun Tianqing received a definite answer. Although it was rare, it was still available. The problem is that these types of magic tools are very rare and expensive. The most important thing is to achieve the kind of child and mother magic tools that Yun Tianqing wants to support billions of users. Even the Beigungmen, which is rumored to be a sect that explains the sub-traditions of the cloud, cannot produce them. So in the end, Yun Tianqing can only temporarily put it on hold and release a wave of paper versions first. End of this chapter.